As the well-worn phrase goes, money makes the world go round, and that's never more true than when it comes to business. But when it comes to managing its money, any business, whether you're a sole trader or a limited company, needs a bank account. And one of the options for businesses these days is Revolut. But is it the right account for your business? Let's take a look and see what our experience of using it has told us. Welcome back to the Basics of Business channel, everybody. And today, Neil and I are going to go through our experience of using Revolut for our business banking. Neil and I are involved in operating and advising a number of businesses, and as part of that, have access to a large number of bank accounts. So once you've watched this video, please check out our overall video where we compare the 9 different accounts that we have access to across 6 different categories to show which one we think is best. But for now, we're going to focus on Revolut, and there are a number of pros when it comes to Revolut. The first of which we would say is easy opening. When I opened a Revolut business account, it only took 20 minutes. I'd actually made a mistake for one of the directors and I've uploaded the wrong documents. Revolut got back to me, pointed out the mistake, I sorted it, and then we had the account up and running within a couple of days, which, Neil, as we know, looking at other banks and considering other banks isn't typical.
No, it's having done this research where we've opened accounts with 9 different banks, it's almost bizarre that the sort of 4 main traditional banks still have this really antiquated, slow way of doing things. We've said in all the videos to do this, opening a bank account is probably the first thing you need to do, because you can't invoice people, you can't pay any bills, you can't do anything until you've got your business bank account. And so, it's one of the things you want to get ticked off as being done, and to have to wait days, weeks to get a bank account open, when the new people like Revolut and others, and the other videos that we've done with the other new challenger banks, it's just why I've been thinking about, why would anyone starting a business open an account with one of the main high street banks? I if anyone came to me, I'm sure there are reasons why there would be for doing that, but for most sort of straightforward businesses, why would you bother?
Yeah, no, agreed. And Revolut was excellent, to be fair. I mean, the application was very easy to say. It took 20 minutes. And once I'd sorted out the problem which I had caused, it was open within a couple of days. And moving on to the next pro, mandates, where I think we both say in terms of you should be in control of whoever you want to see as much or as little of your account as possible. And I added you to Revolut. You got the thing through. How did you find it in terms of when it came through? It was easy for me just to say, I want Neil to have access to it. And when you got an email through.
Yeah, I got a notification. It was a easy process to follow. They wanted to check that I was who you said I was and stuff, which is fair enough. But it was, a few minutes of going through, doing some ID checks and things, and it was done. And again, I've actually seen, there are a couple of banks where it's actually even been more simple than that, where you just click, I want this person to be a thing, and it just came through straight away. So the extra ID check was actually reassuring without creating any issues. Again, having worked with the traditional banks, it takes ages.
Yeah.
They have a whole mandate team who seem to want to control it. And it's like you said, it's my money, it's my account.
Yeah.
I want to be able to let people, and yes, okay, you've got to do your know your client checks and make sure that that the people are who they say they are, and the money's being used for what you say it's being used for. But as I say, that they seem to just not made any attempt to make use of technology, whereas the new banks are obviously coming in making use of the technology.
Yeah, and it was really good, as in I could specify the level, and I say that gave reassurance to me in terms of involved in the business, that you and the advisor to it could just prove it was you, and then there was that additional check. So that was definitely a big pro for Revolut for me, as is the 24/7 support. It is chat-based support, but it is 24/7, and in the dealings I've had with them, it's been very good so far. There is a con related to that, which we'll come on to slightly, but sticking with the pros, international payments is another one, whether you've got a free account or not with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that they is their USPs, is the international aspect of it. So yeah, that was very easy to do, very easy to use, very cheap to use compared compared again to the traditional banks.
Which as I say, from an international perspective, the big banks can be a real. Not that they can't do, they obviously can, but they charge a fortune.
Yeah, it's obviously been a good earner for them over the years, and again, there's a sort of seems to be a reluctance to improve it if there's people willing to pay the ridiculous fees they're willing to pay, and I've seen that in professional services. Well, why be more efficient and charge less if there's enough people willing to charge you to be inefficient, pay you to be inefficient, and you can make more money by being inefficient? That's what they do, and we've seen it. Lawyers, accountants, whatever
some of the banks have been making serious money in terms of these international payments and things like that.
Oh, absolutely.
So Revolut and companies like that, taking them on is a big thing for me. I think with the new entrants as well, and there's another big pro for Revolut is the online services. The app is excellent. You've got desktop access as well, and from an integration point of view, it's really where it excels. I think there's it's called the Revolut Hub, where you can get obviously the normal integration to your accounting software, which is what you think, but it also now is the integration into the productivity apps, HR apps, different multiple things. We can flick a list up there of what you've got access to, but I think that's where the new entrants are really making a difference. They're using the technology that we expect out there for all sorts of things and apply it to banking, and that for me I think is a big plus when it comes to them. The so far you're probably thinking like it's almost a no-brainer to go with Revolut, and there are, with these pros there are cons, but briefly before we go on to the key cons of Revolut, if you found this video helpful so far, please hit the like button. Thanks for doing that. It really is a big indicator for us that you find this video useful, and it gives you clarity, more clarity for your business. So thank you for doing that. And now moving on to the sort of the key cons and getting back to them, we sort of alluded to them before. Some of them, the fees are a big thing. I found when it comes to Revolut, they do have free banking, but the next level up being 25 quid a month. I mean, that's a big decision, I think, for companies to make. It almost is. It's not a decision. It's sort of so expensive compared to others.
Yeah, and I think, when I was looking at the different fees, there are more levels. There are 4 levels, I think, within Revolut as to where what you can have free versus
plus another 3 if you're looking at as a freelancer and things like that.
Yeah, and so I found that quite being sure which one you would want to take. You don't want to spend money for services that you're not going to need, but you don't want to be limited because you've gone in for the free one or a cheaper version or whatever. And that wasn't as clear as perhaps you'd expect from Revolut, because of everything else has been so easy to understand and easy to do. The fee side of it seemed, it's opaque. Opaque might not be the right word, because it's it's there in black and white as to
Yeah.
what it's going to be, but trying to assess what you would need wasn't the easiest.
Yeah, I mean, and if you get I know it has the freelancer business breakdown. However, you're going to look at all the options, whether you're not, you're just going to check what's there. And if there are 7 options, and then you're looking at another couple of banks, you're getting into 15, maybe 20 option. I mean, it's just too much. And in terms of, we use the free option just now. As I say, the £25 a month is a big jump considering to what else is out there in the market. Things like you have 5 free transactions a month, but it's 20p for ones after that. And if you've got a heavy transaction business, as we know, that can add up pretty quickly. On the free version, you can have multiple people approving payments, which again, if there's more of you than one involved in the business, is something that a lot of people would want to use. So as I say, in terms of compared to other things out in the market, which tend to be sort of between £5 and sort of £10 a month, £25 a month is a big amount for a bank. So in terms of, you'd really want to make sure you're using the functions that are different between there. Back to credit facilities is another one. Revolut actually isn't a bank.
Yeah.
In terms of, it's not for want of trying. They are trying to be a bank. I think their application's been with the Financial Conduct Authority for 2 years. So they are trying to be a bank in the UK, but they aren't a bank. And that has an impact on credit facilities, which is a con from that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking for an overdraft or credit cards or things like that, if that's going to be a key part of how you're funding your working capital or something, then you're not going to be able to get that via Revolut. You can get working capital facilities in other ways, but obviously it's easier to have an overdraft. An overdraft facility is sort of the easiest, simplest thing. And if you have to have a third party providing you with whatever working capital you require, then again, it's an extra level of admin and an extra layer that you can avoid if you go with other people. Yeah. But again, it's as we keep saying, that only matters to you if it matters to you.
Yeah.
So,
but it is something to bear in mind. You assume all these things are banks. As I say, Revolut is currently an e-money institution in the UK, which means they can't offer these services and overt credit facilities, invoice finance, which a bank, in inverted commas, can do. So as Neil says, if that's an important consideration for you, Revolut is not a bank. There'll be a broker like the rest of the e-money institutions referring you on to other places where you can get them, but you don't need to be Revolut to access that.
Yeah.
Another thing to mention in terms of related to the fees and online services, as we talked about earlier, it's a great thing and the app is great. They've got a rewards element to it where you can get things like 100% or 50% off, zero and stuff like that. That only comes with the £25 a month version. So that's just another thing to bear in mind of, while the online services are terrific and some of the integrations are, you're not going to get the deals and the rewards unless you're paying the £25 a month and up from that. From a support point of view is another thing to bear in mind. It is 24/7, but there's no phone support and there are no branches. So in terms of, you're only going to get chat support. As Neil sort of consistently says, that might not matter to you in terms of, you've got a very simple business, but if you like more traditional banking from that perspective, the 24/7 is only for chat.
Yeah.
From that perspective. And I suppose we've talked about the money institution element of Revolut. The eligibility is another thing in terms of something to bear in mind of. Not every business will be able to get an account with Revolut.
Yeah, and so if you qualify that, it doesn't really count as a con. But if you're one of the excluded business activities, then you can't. All the pros don't matter because they don't want you as a customer. So
one of the other things to bear in mind with Revolut being an e-money institution is there isn't that FSCS 85 grand guarantee, which there is for traditional banks. So that's just another thing to bear in mind. So as I say, I've found it excellent for the things that are, for the business that I'm involved in, that we use it. There are cons to it. So just something to bear in mind, as I say, there are there are things that you need to look at.
And I think that's the whole purpose of these range of videos is you can meet a colleague who's like you, say, oh, I'm setting up my own business. Who do you bank with? Oh, I bank with Revolut. They're brilliant. Go and use them. But that doesn't always mean that they'll be really good for someone else.
Yeah.
Whether it's because the activities you're going to mean the free one doesn't, because the free one works for you, it might not work for someone else. And as we've said, £25 a month, it's not necessarily breaking the bank, but it is. It's £10-15 more than you probably have to spend if you choose a different bank, provided that everything else they do meets the criteria you need. And I think that's what all of this is rather than, oh, well, my mate said Revolut were really good, so I've gone with them, and then 3 months later, I wish I hadn't gone with them because actually this other bank would have been a better option, and the hassle of changing, and you end up living with a second-rate decision, an imperfect decision, and you end up living with it for ages or forever. And that's what hopefully we're doing, is giving people the information to try and get the right bank.
Because there's something you do really. Once you choose your bank, it's sort of like little things, little processes coming around using your bank, your bookkeeping or accounting, etc. So it does add up, the sort of consequence of the decision. So it's important to get it as right as you can with the information you've got to start with.
Yeah, well, you've told, depending on how quickly you grow, but you've told the customers the bank details.
Yeah.
You've now got to tell them to change the bank details. So that, is small matter, but it's just something that probably isn't the greatest aesthetic that 6 months in I'm changing the bank details. You're creating work for the accounts team of your customer because they've got to go in and amend the supplier details. You've set up standing orders or direct debits with suppliers. You've got to cancel those and start again. It's all, none of it's huge, but they're all little things that, that just be that, bit of
pain that you
could have avoided if you'd got it right from the beginning.
So that's it for the Revolut Business Review. As ever, we wish you every success with your business. And if you like this video, tap on one of those boxes on the screen, and we'll see you over in another one.